Alright guys, I want to make this quick blog thing. It's easier than just typing out a ton of messages. On 14.2, since we'll be going at it again on Monday, especially for the competitors, a few things that we learned today, especially watching everybody go, breaking up the reps, how they broke up the reps, and a couple different strategies. So first off, timing wise, if you did it today, if you did it on Friday, you'll most likely go after it again on Monday. Make sure your grips are covered, make sure the shoulders are good. Train tomorrow, off on Sunday, wake the body up on Monday morning and go after it midday or PM. So for the AM stuff, I think just waking the body up with probably like Airdyne stuff, sprints, rest a few, kind of wake the body up in the mind, but not tax the grip since this workout for most is so grip intensive. Your warm up going into the workout later that day, I would argue should be still that longer type warm up. You don't need it as much as 14.1. It's not the same demand there, but still kind of probably that 2K row, warm up the body, increasing the pace as you go throughout, but nothing too taxing power-wise because it is grip and the pull, you want to kind of save that. Basic warm up for movements thereafter, maybe go into, at that point, maybe 4 or 5 20-second sprints on the Airdyne, rest 3 or 4 minutes, just to wake the legs up. Tons of mobility based on you. So the mobility should be, I say tons, but realistically you need to be able to get good positions, especially thinking overhead squat, internal rotation, hips, ankles, thoracic. But if you have those good positions, you don't want to hammer that and overdo it. You want to stay tight and get the best position you can while making sure that something's not going to give out. So today we saw some people where their back, maybe they didn't warm up the back enough, and as the overhead squat started to climb, their back started to catch up to them. So again, we're drilling it in the warm-ups at the gym anyway. So, but if you're outside CFF, think shoulder positioning, thoracic, hips, ankles, mobility. Really focus on the ankles as well, and foot position can change. So we'll get into that as well. Before you warm up again, mobility, then climbing your overhead weight, climbing up to that overhead squat. I would not go a ton of chest to bar. I would honestly just get a few chest to bar in there and then normal pull-ups, not a ton. Save that pull and go into it basically from a standpoint of, even maybe some dumbbell rows, things like that, to just warm up the lats, but not getting into it. So dumbbell rows, warm up the lats, and that's you're gonna get those, basically the back warmed up, but don't think like high volume pulse warming up. You wanna save your grip. That's what we noticed, especially you get into the 14, 16, go through the 18, 20 as you go, it's a ton of grip. So that's for your warm up. So a few things to go into it, and this was a discussion, there's been a few blogs on this, few video stuff, but also people today, what to eat. This is a workout that a fasted state would be arguably the best, but that doesn't work for everybody. So I would say you should eat a full meal any sooner than 3 or 4 hours approaching the workout. So if you're gonna do it in the midday, you can wake up, get breakfast and so forth, but you should go into it pretty much on an empty stomach. During the workout, pre-workout, aminos, something like that, I wouldn't have it anything that your body's trying to digest. I say aminos in kind of that kind of drink type where you're going to have some rest in between the 10s, the 12s, 14s, and so forth. Take a sip of that as well. Don't overdo it. You don't want to cramp up, but just small sip that might help a little bit. Going into setup, bar height, we had a ton of luck and ton of good results for the women stacking plates. Stacking almost a subframe. If we put wood on top so it's flat, they feel comfortable dropping down from the bar where they're barely jumping to the bar. So for us, the Spiel bars, they're pretty high for some of the girls. So stacking the plates, putting the wood on top just so it's flat, not rolling an ankle, and the bar's right there. So that helped a ton. I would definitely suggest that. Hand stuff, hand care, tape, grips. We had a ton of people wear grips today and so forth. No rips, which was great. But I would argue in some cases, I know for me personally, the grips seem to tax my grip a little more because they're thick. So I know as we have a ton of people going at it on Monday, they're probably going to not tape, not use grips, because if they do rip, it's Monday, they're not doing it again. But it'll give themselves the best chance of circumference of the bar being the thinnest and the grip lasting the longest. So that's something to think about. Close setup, bar and station. Again, if you're stacking the plates, going for the pull-up bar, then your bar should be just a few feet behind that. and vice versa. You should be just going back and forth, not having it so you're, you know, walking all over. Obviously, if you're not having someone move your bar for safety reasons, whatever, make sure you're not dropping the bar and things bouncing 10 feet away. You should just place it down. You're not going to be you're not going to be rushing that fast. Maybe the last round you will, but nothing throughout the beginning stages. So pace, utilizing the time per round. I think a lot of people, they were trying to, even for at our place, we're slowing people down, utilizing the time. So, you know, breaking things up accordingly. If there's 3 minutes in a round and you can finish the first 10s in a minute, well, it's not good to sprint and think, oh, I can recover longer. That's not the way it really works. If anything, your form's going to build up. Things are going to build up and fill up quicker that way. So arguably you should go at a better pace, slow it down, utilize the time. For the 10s, 12s, 14s start to get tricky because unless you're going unbroken and all sorts of stuff, you're going to utilize more time. But again, there's nothing wrong with a continuous movement, making it more of an aerobic workout as long as you're not failing on one of the movements. So leading into strategy for overhead squats, we saw a ton of different things today that and as we went on with the day, we learned a little bit more and more as we saw what was out there, but it definitely depends on the person. So overhead squat versus the pull-ups. Most people, it's the pull-ups. That's going to be the issue. We didn't really see anything otherwise today. People struggled over squats. They could piece them together, get to the pull-up bar, and that's where their forearms started to build up and they lost it. So pull-up, ideally, overhead squats are going to be unbroken, nice smooth pace, up and down, drop. Pull-ups are where it gets tricky. Unless you are a stud and you're going, you know, again, you're going for 350 or something crazy, I would argue you're going to break it up anyway. And even then, since you have to wait till the next minutes, you could argue you could break up the whole time and still get one of those crazy scores as long as you pace it properly and you break up the numbers. So pull-ups, 5 and 5 as you go into the 10s. And this is just examples. You got to figure out what works for you, but I would definitely figure it out prior as you attack it the second time on Monday and stick to the game plan. So for 12, 7 and 5 or 5, 4, 3. For 14, you can go 8 and 6 or 5, 4, 3, 3, something like that. You could argue the first round you break it up in 2 sets, and the second round of that sets, those two sets, you go and you break it up in more. So if you go, for instance, 14, you go 8 and 6 the first round, then you go 5, 4, 3, 3. Maybe that saves the grip for the 16s, or vice versa. This could go for 10, 12, 14, doesn't matter. But break it up accordingly. That's everything. Hand position on the overhead squats, mobility based, obviously. But if you can go narrow and you're used to it and you've done it, you should go a clean grip overhead squat if you can do it. We had a ton of luck today with the females that could do so. Even the men, we had a couple that would. They're flexible enough. They have that mobility to go close. It saves a lot on the wrist. It saves a lot on the shoulder. It's a more stable position, and they were able to get better scores because of it. So if you can bring the hands in, you should do so. Of course, you're used to it. If you're trying to force the hands in, the shoulders are going all over the place, you're losing your back, you're running forward, then that's not worth it. But if you're comfortable with doing it and you can bring the hands in, I would absolutely suggest to do that. For pull-ups, one thing we saw today is singles. We had girls that got to the 16s and they did singles, and they were really fast singles. They simply couldn't string together at that point. They had no forearms, they had no grip. They were able to push through the workout. What helped with that as well is the plates stacked with the frame for them, so they're barely jumping. They were able to get fast singles the whole time, which was huge. So think of that, again, when you're strategizing. So hand position, overhead squat, wide, again, going back to the narrow and wide, if you have, don't have the lower body, the ankles, the hips, then going wide can also be, a big benefit with the feet. As long as you can get the depth, it can help with that, keeping the torso upright, saving the shoulders, and should help you with the later rounds. Also with the pull-ups, same thing. Wide, shorter pull, yes, usually a harder pull. Narrow, longer pull, vice versa. So play with those, figure out what works for you. For the people who are failing or getting to that point of failure, think not just double overhand, think 1-and-1, mixed grip, think chin up. You can think numerous things, but you need to be able to be calm, and you get to that point in the workout where you simply can't, you're barely getting up there. You can't go fast singles, maybe normal grip. Well, maybe you got to switch grip and just get those extra reps. So every rep counts. We see that on leaderboard every year. So grind for those extra reps, especially at the end, but play with that grip maybe over the weekend before Monday, not obviously low volume, but just trying to figure out what maybe will help you with the pull once the grip is gone, once you have nothing left. So mental aspect, last thing I'll touch on, we talked about it a lot lately. I had a blog post on that, but the biggest thing now is you've already done it. So you know exactly what to expect. you should strategize based on your first attempt at it, and you should be able to comfortably attack the workout with a good game plan. And then hopefully it works out. Obviously, you're getting those continuous reps. Unless you're one of those guys or girls that are going 300, 350, where it's go, go, go. Even there's a strategy, but obviously theirs is a little more go, 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 unbroken sets. But we already did it. You should have a few days to game plan it. Chat with us if you're at CFF. Chat with us. If not, email me in. Obviously, a lot of people who are programmed outside, I'm going to email you anyway for the weekend programming, and I'm going to put this into the group. But think of a strategy that's going to beat your old score. You know where you essentially slowed down. You know where your grip went. Now it's strategizing around that, so you continue to push further, a little bit further, and then you can get to that point where, okay, you have X amount of seconds left, you have this left, now it's go, go, go. So either way, you need to strategize for that. And the mental aspect, like I said, the biggest thing with this workout, going at it a second time, should be that much less stressful because you know what to expect and you know how to game it based on beating your first score, which essentially is the only goal for everybody, is beating your own score. You're not worried about everybody else, it's improving what you did, and I think it's very much doable, especially on a workout like this that can change so much based on the pull-up strategy and transitions and things like that. So that's it. Again, Monday should be the day. I know some people might have to go on it Sunday for scheduling wise, but again, make sure you're not rushing into it, kind of a little anxious. I know we had a lot of people do that last week, myself included, but make sure you give yourself time to recover, especially if the grip and the pulling is the issue. You might feel fine, but that'll be the first thing to go. So any questions, message in, and good luck on 14.2, the second attempt.